The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Julia. Right, hello everyone. Thank you all for joining me today, well, in the morning, I know that many teachers are busy at the moment running their own lessons, but it's good we have quite a few participants here. So my name is Anna and I'll be guiding you today in the topic of teaching one-to-one, and in particular we'll be focusing on primary school children today. So to get started, actually I have a question for you. I'm in Moscow, and the weather is, well, it's quite gloomy outside and it's getting colder each day. So where are you and what's the weather like in your place? So type in something about your place. Oh, okay, St. Pete, yeah, great. Hello. Sunny, oh, you're lucky. Moscow, okay, then yeah, we have something similar here, Freezy, oh, okay. Snowing, oh my God, winter is coming, I knew that. Armenia, oh, that's great, it's sunny there. But cold, some people are saying, okay. Gloomy, okay, yeah. So we are going to cheer up, during the session then. Snowy, fantastic, yeah. Okay, Vidna, okay, hello, Yelena. It's good to see some familiar names in the chat box. Yeah, it's a shame I can't see you, obviously, but yeah, I know that quite a few of my former trainees attending this webinar, so thank you for coming. Thank you for expressing this interest. Okay, awesome, great, yes. Sunny, snowing, okay, it's good if it is both, right? If we can welcome winter, in this kind of positive mood, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a bit cloudy today, I know. Okay, awesome. So just a couple of words about myself, because perhaps some of you don't know me much. I'm a teacher trainer. I'm a CELT and Delta trainer, and I also run a variety of other courses. And I've been teaching for exams for like ages. I still remember my first group of very young, well, not very, but young learners, preparing for starters. And that's been a great achievement of mine, and then of course of my students. So today I'll be sharing some tips on how we can help young learners actually, especially when we work with them on a one-to-one basis. Okay, so let's get started. So on this slide, you can see some kind of outcomes that I'm hoping to achieve by the end of the session. We'll talk a little bit about what a typical lesson might be like. And obviously, if you work with one-to-one students, type in a plus, by the way, in the chat box, if you work with one-to-one students on a regular basis. Thank you very much. Yes. Amazing. Yeah. Okay. That's why you are here, of course. There are a lot of teachers who had to go freelance, and started working online or offline with private students. I know the situation is kind of challenging at the moment, and we have to work with one-to-one students quite a lot. And that's why we felt that this topic might be really appealing. So when you teach one-to-one students, there is only you and your student, basically. There isn't much variety, and many people, teachers are concerned, about how they can add variety. Actually, it's impossible, and it is really challenging. So today we'll talk about different activities that will help us introduce the same thing, but from a different angle, from a different perspective, right? We'll be also talking about some motivational theories, because I believe motivating students is a key to success, and one of the most important ingredients, right? I'll also recommend some tools for needs analysis and assessing your students, and obviously some of the samples from young Wiley, from young learners examinations will be given to you. We'll look critically at some of the examples, and think how they can be beneficial and what can be changed, or how we can actually prepare our students for these tasks. So with that in mind, Have a look at this slide. Does it remind you of your classroom? What is it like? In the chat box, could you put Zoom or online or Skype if you are teaching online? Yeah. So what tool you're using, or if it is a physical classroom or room, maybe you go to your students. Okay, quite a lot of people are teaching online at the moment. Yeah, I can see. And yeah, there are certain people who teach offline, which is great, because I think we can still have fun if it is like, you know, physical and something can be tangible. That's amazing. Awesome. Okay, it's good to have a variety. Sometimes, yeah, we can run a combination of classes, like once a month, let's say. It can be offline, but most of the time it can be online these days, just to be safe. Yeah, I know. Yeah, student's house. Okay. WhatsApp. Yeah, I know some people use WhatsApp, actually. That's why I'm asking. Yeah, I'm eliciting the tools you can be using. Yeah. Exactly. So we have a variety of tools, and many people prefer Zoom because there are many features, many functionalities we can make use of. However, for one-to-one students, like breakout rooms is something we don't need, right? So yeah, so we can be more flexible about technology. Okay, so I have already mentioned some potential concerns, yeah? So when you plan a lesson for a one-to-one learner, quite often you're puzzled, like how to run it in a way so that the student is not bored, yeah? Or how, what to do, how to achieve timing, which is nearly perfect, yeah? It's harder with one student only. Sometimes the lessons may be cancelled, and that is a great worry, actually, yeah? And homework might be a cause of concern too, because some students are reluctant to do homework because it's boring. I remember, actually, yeah, a friend of mine and a colleague of mine, yeah, texted me a couple of days ago, like, my son doesn't want to do homework or something. And I understand, I totally understand why, right? So all of them are about motivating students, in my opinion. So we can solve whatever the problem arises, by motivating properly our students. Well, how and what do we mean by that? So first of all, I've got a short question. Yeah, well, a question is relatively long, but the answer might be relatively short. Yeah, you can just choose A, B, or C. So do you think motivation is important? If it is not really important, the most important thing, or it's one of the factors? Oh, okay, I can see. I think we are nearly on the same page, because many people think it's one of the factors, and obviously it affects the quality of our lessons. Yeah, if your children are motivated. Amazing. Now, what is exactly you mean by motivation? So is it a kind of carrot that your students are expecting to get, or it's something like not being punished for not attending a class, yeah, or something else? So what do you mean when you say the learner is motivated? Driver, a kind of driving force, yeah. Inside urge, exactly, Galina. Yes, okay, great ideas. Yeah, okay, Alina agrees. That's amazing, yeah. Okay, so yes, that's what motivation is like. Yeah, let's delve into this topic. I'm going to highlight some definitions from different sources. So first, we'll have a look at the definition at a basic level. Yeah, like coming from a dictionary. Yeah, Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English says that it is kind of eagerness, willingness. I've seen similar ideas in the chat box. To do something without being pushed, yeah? So they do want to do that. For example, they usually want to play a game, don't they? There is a reason behind that desire, right, to do something. And that is this kind of driving force. Yeah. If we look at some teaching books, books for teachers, then we can see, like Scott Thornberry is saying that it is a driving force, but also he highlights that learning is a goal-oriented activity. So if we set goals for our students, they'll be more successful, hopefully. And that's why, of course, we can actually entice them to take a test, because that's a kind of motivation for them. It might be, at least. And if we look at different theories, motivational theories from psychology, for example, I'm quoting from the Psychology of Second Language Acquisition, you can see some other aspects related to motivation, but because motivation is a very complex phenomenon, right? It's a kind of want, need, desire, urge. It's something that we are hoping to get, or maybe quite the opposite, we are hoping not to be involved in, right? So different internal forces. So identifying something that your learners are good at and they want to continue exploring that, and something that they're struggling with is extremely important. Now, at this stage, I would like to take a pause, and I want you to consider, what do you want to find out about your students? Like, what exactly do you want to know about their motivation? And how can you get that information? Is it possible to collect that information by asking a child, or there is something else you can do? So let's talk a little bit about needs analysis and diagnostic tools. So if there is an idea, just talk to a child. You can type a chat in the box, or I don't know, there may be some other ideas. How can you collect information about your learners? What do you want to know about them? Yes, a game like quiz. I like this idea. So basically, we can run an activity for them, and we can observe, monitor them. Yes, we can talk to their parents. Absolutely. I think it'll be a lot more efficient, if we talk to parents. Okay, what else? Any other ideas? Pictures, absolutely. Yes, we use a great deal of visuals with young learners, and there is a reason behind that. Sometimes they can't express themselves clearly. They are not linguistically equipped, but pictures can help them reveal some of their preferences. Very good. And yes, of course, you can ask them questions. Getting certificates. Oh, that's interesting. Like encouraging them to take a test, you mean, or giving them certificates? I didn't quite understand that. A placement test. Yes, okay. Of course, you can use a formal assessment tool, such as a test. Definitely. Cartoons. Oh, that's interesting, Natalia. I think we can make use of different types of videos, of course, but how we can assess what they really like, so probably some questions or something else will be necessary. But yes, you got the idea. Yes, exactly. So as a kind of warm-up activity, at the beginning of the lesson, we can keep collecting information about our learners by asking them simple questions, like, do you like ice cream, for example, or how many brothers do you have, or something else, I don't know, depending what you want to know about them. Yes, a questionnaire, that's kind of challenging, because sometimes the kids of this age group, they're not literate enough, to follow all the questions and to respond to them. But yes, it can be somehow graded, and you can use some pictures to help them understand what you want to ask about. Absolutely. Okay, thank you for sharing. So if we just simplify all the theories, motivational theories, we can split motivation into two things, right? The first one will be extrinsic motivation, and the second one, intrinsic. Now, which one is something that drives us to achieve a particular goal? What is that, extrinsic or intrinsic? Oh, that's interesting. You think it's intrinsic. Honestly, I think if there is an external goal of some kind, it is extrinsic. Yeah, the goals might be different, but you can see my prompts, a carrot or a stick, right? So they always want a carrot of some kind. And if it is a kind of habit of theirs, yeah, they always get a stick at the end of the lesson, or I don't know, there might be something like, you know, a small gift at the end of the academic year or something else. Yeah, they get used to that, but their motivation will be extrinsic. When we talk about their love, their affection, their interest to do certain things, then we can say that they're intrinsically motivated. And that's what we want, of course, to develop, yeah, so that motivation comes within the individual, right? It doesn't matter which motivation we want to develop, and perhaps we can work on both. If we encourage them to take an exam, hopefully they'll be extrinsically motivated. Yeah, and if our lessons are interesting, then hopefully again, and if they like you, they'll be intrinsically motivated, right? So how can we ensure they are motivated? What comes to mind? So I have already mentioned a couple of tips, but perhaps you can have some other ideas. Could you share in the chat box? Yes, active participation. Yes, get them interested. Perfect. A new tablet. Well, it will be extrinsic. Oh, sorry. Yeah, extrinsic, of course. Yeah. A competition. Oh, that's interesting. Bribing them. Oh, right. Okay. So please don't indulge them their every whim. Yeah. Prepare tasks. Yes, exactly. Very good. Interacting with them naturally. Yeah. Feedback at the end. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, those are great ideas. Thank you very much. I'm going to refer to Penny Ear's suggestions. Yeah, she's talking about several things. The first one is taking every opportunity to show them that English is useful. It's important. That's how you'll be able to use it later on or something. Yeah, or you will need it, like, I don't know, in a couple of years or whatever. Yeah. One of the ways, of course, to set a goal to take an exam, but there might be something else. For example, if they are going on holiday soon, yeah, then by fostering their self-image as a successful language learner, yeah, and this is, I think, is extremely important. Yeah, promoting learner autonomy, helping them become better learners, and then therefore they will hopefully like this learning journey. And ensuring, of course, that the choice of activities you are using in your lessons are interesting, appealing, relevant for them. Yeah, yes, the choice of topics I can see you're highlighting, and many other things. Yeah, like techniques, choosing what to use, how to keep them engaged. Absolutely, great ideas. There was one thing, interaction, in the chat box that I want to comment on. Yeah, when we work with one-to-one, there isn't much variety in interactions, right? There will be a child talking, you're talking to each other, and that's it basically. Yeah. So to add variety to interaction patterns, perhaps you can use different roles. Yeah, occasionally. You can play games, exactly, yes. Or you can change, I don't know, the routine activity, changing their place where something is happening, so that there is this kind of, again, change of role imposed. Yeah. So, for example, if you are at the child's place, you can ask them to take a seat near the window to talk about the weather. Yeah. Yes, exactly. You can use toys as well. Yeah, that's another way of entertaining them, changing this kind of dynamic. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, great. So, to motivate learners, we need to grab their attention. And for that, of course, yeah, you have already used quite a lot of ideas what can be done. Yeah, using a visual, using a toy, a realia, or something else. I think it's relatively easy to find something you can start the lesson with in an engaging way. But then the most challenging thing is to keep them motivated throughout the lesson, right? So that they are still challenged and interested. And for that, again, the choice of activities will be a key. And also we can talk about the level of challenge. Yeah. And if you see they're struggling, they're not ready to do something, yeah, you need to add more scaffolding there. And quite the opposite, yeah. If it is easy, you can actually go faster, yeah, and changing the activity might be a good solution at that stage. But you can imagine a child who comes from school and sometimes they're just tired. They don't want to do anything, yeah, they're reluctant to participate. So perhaps it's not a good idea to start something serious, yeah, studying new grammar or reading a long text or something like that, yeah. So perhaps you will be changing some of the activities on the go, responding to their needs and thinking on your feet. But anyway, having a variety of activities up your sleeve is a very good strategy for lessons like that. Now, let's consider young learners in general. And of course, we are focusing on primary school children today. I am highlighting a few prompts, yeah, some areas we need to consider when we talk about young learners and what they're like their physical characteristics, their physical needs. What do you think the second symbol is about? What kind of needs, characteristics can we consider? Okay, I'm looking forward to getting your ideas. Emotions, exactly. So quite often kids are vulnerable, yeah, and they don't know how to express their emotions. Yes, communication as well. Yeah, their social skills are hardly ever developed at this stage. Yes, they have a short attention span, that's right, and that's why they want to move around a little bit. Yeah, they might be overactive, they might get bored easily and get distracted therefore. What's their final picture about? Yeah, the one on the right. What do you think I'm highlighting here? Okay, so perhaps you thought it's about short attention span, but that's not only that. I wanted to focus. Eager to learn? Yes, they are curious, actually. I totally agree with you. They might be creative. Yes, exactly. Intellectual needs. Yes, that's what I wanted to see in the chat box. Yes, exactly. They might be getting information relatively quickly, but then they can lose, unfortunately, yeah, everything they've learned. Yeah, so recycling and revision and recycling activities are very important. Yes, exactly. So I've been thinking of focusing on thinking skills, yeah, because they're still developing their cognitive skills in general. They're still learning how to express their emotions or whatever, yeah, and their ability to talk about abstract concepts, yeah, is either lacking or just at the beginning of their development, things like that. So we all need to consider that when we plan our lessons and when we deliver, yeah? So if you see the child is sad, for example, you can't jump into the topic right away. You need to prepare the child somehow, yeah? Talking about what worries him, yeah. Yes, exactly, Natalia, yeah. Absolutely right. Okay, so when we describe young learners, we may consider quite a variety of aspects. And here on the slide, you can see word clouds, where many of the things we usually keep in mind are highlighted. One of them is their short attention span you've mentioned, which means they can't sit still for a long period of time. Yeah, you need to change activities, and there will be varieties of settlers and stirrers every now and again. And then they're still developing their manual dexterity. Yeah, so their physical skills are still developing. They want to move, but at the same time, some of the things is difficult for them. They may be awkward, yeah. they may feel like that. Then their physical needs affect, and their stage of development affects their cognitive abilities, yeah. And that's why basically we want to develop their fine motor skills to help them, you know, intellectually develop too. Quite often they don't know terms, yeah, in English, like their meta language is basically unreliable, yeah. So if you say it's a noun or it's the subject of the sentence, they don't respond well to that because it's abstract. And social skills, I have already mentioned that they're still developing, and we need to teach them how to respond to people in a variety of situations. There are a couple of other things I'm highlighting here. We are also, we've already mentioned memory, I think, yeah, so they can easily get in different things, but then they may lose them, and we need to help them revise. And positive reinforcement, that's something that can work, yeah. And they don't have to be stickers or stamps or sweets, please no. You can just praise them verbally, praising them, highlighting their the progress they are making, yeah, or something that they've deserved actually, yeah. So showing them what they can improve and so on. Okay. Now, a question for you. So what do you think? The languages are usually learned by imitating someone, by experimenting and making hypotheses, or maybe both, I don't know. Okay. So some people prefer conscious learning, yeah. This is actually cognitivist view on learning. And if you are saying A, then you trust behaviorists, and a variety of repetition activities, drills might be really useful. In my opinion, of course, both can be involved. Yeah, like if you think about your childhood or someone you know, yeah, and what they usually do they copy what they hear? Quite often they do, right? Sometimes they don't understand at first, yeah, what they're saying, and it's funny. That's why it is funny, actually. But then they start experimenting and trying out different things, and if they see this kind of funny effects, yeah, on parents, then probably they will get that this is not appropriate, yeah. And they try to figure out what exactly that phrase or word or whatever means, yeah. And they'll be doing that again and again, taking risks. That's what happens in L1 acquisition, yeah, first language learning. But obviously it is relevant for us teachers because we can make use of some ideas from first language acquisition in teaching. So for this age group, I believe behaviorist view is very important to keep in mind. Having a variety of drills, yeah, using something like chants, songs, you know, when you ask your students to listen and repeat, just repeat, do you remember, things like that, yeah. So when you revise and consolidate, when you use flashcards and elicit something that they should know, yeah. So basically those are their techniques from audiolingual approach, yeah. And it's good because they need to build confidence, and we want to remind them of useful things so that they can become more fluent in the future. But they also highlight the importance of positive reinforcement and praise. Yeah, that's another thing that we can nick from behaviorists. Of course, only behaviorism won't help us run efficient lessons. But at this stage, perhaps we can concentrate on making use of these ideas. For example, when we use flashcards, yeah, we can teach different things, including emotions. And you remember that we've talked about that kids quite often, they don't know how to express emotions. And that's why we can start our courses by helping them produce different things like I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm tired, things like that. And for that, we have a variety of songs. I particularly like Super Simple Learning, their channel, and different chants, or just, you know, this kind of hello circle that can be done with a group of students, but obviously can be adjusted to one-to-one students. If you use flashcards, for example, yeah, you are sort of taking different roles. How are you? You pick up a card. I'm busy. Yeah, and then you take that turn, and the child will ask you, how are you? And you can pick up a flashcard or something. So do you work with flashcards with your young learners? Of course, of course. Now, if you want to get more ideas how to use flashcards, there is a nice video on YouTube from Macmillan with Carol Reed talking about flashcards. If you type in Carol Reed, flashcards, Macmillan, something like this, you will find a great video with a variety of flashcard activities, and some of them are still relevant for us teaching online, and many of them will be very useful for the rest of us who have to work offline, obviously. At the moment, we can use a variety of applications, websites, and so on to create different types of activity with flashcards. But honestly, you know, you can just hold a flashcard in front of the child or ask them to draw something, and they will be ready-made, self-made cards, which is also a solution. What else can we do in terms of building confidence, in terms of praising students? I'm not talking about stickers, no, but maybe you have some other ideas. How do you motivate your students? Anyone? It might take some time actually to respond. Praise. Okay. You mean just saying good job, things like that, right? Yeah, of course, of course. Any other tools, techniques? Stickers, yes. I knew it would come. Yes, definitely. Okay. Yes, homework. Okay. Lots of smiling. Perfect, Galina. I love that. Yes, different gestures. Yeah, exactly. Good. How do you draw attention to successful performance? Like that's been done well. Yeah, something like this. Self-reflection. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yes. Favorite games. Perfect. Exactly. More games. Yes. Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Great ideas. I also have another idea, which you haven't mentioned so far. It's using a progress chart or a reward chart, whatever you call it. Yes, some kind of motivational system. Exactly, exactly. So you can collect points. That's what I'm showing, basically. Yeah, they don't have to be points. They can be different type of notes. They can be symbols you can invent with your learner or something else. So here you can see a kind of timetable, right? And it is created for someone who studies every day, but obviously you can change it to make it a kind of month progress chart or whatever. And the ideas that you can highlight, yeah, are many. So it's not always language related. It can be with the focus on creativity, yeah, or something that they're good at, like the progress they're making, or maybe a new activity that they've tried out, something like this. So first of all, what I like about it, yeah, is that they can see that they're actually yeah, actually teenagers can do that as well, but yeah, for teens, I'll show you that later. Yeah, there will be another webinar on teaching teens, but yeah, so basically we can highlight different types of assignments for them. They are more serious, more mature. It can be done verbally, you don't have to use visuals, but yes, the same idea basically. They can see what they've done, and they can see what they can do again, and they can see what they need to do, or they want to do, maybe they can choose actually. So the ideas are the following. The first picture is about something creative, like a project, a poster, a picture, whatever, and you will be highlighting what they've done there, maybe the topic of the lesson or something else, so that next time you can see, you know what, we haven't done posters for a while. Do you remember how good you were at creating the poster on, I don't know, food, for example, yeah? So would you like to draw something related to this topic? Yeah, something like this, and you can choose poster making again. Then different types of, for example, flashcards, yeah, or they might be something else. Actually, you can invent your own symbols. Then the third symbol is about music, so probably some songs that you sing together. Just listening to a song first, you can highlight that. That's already a kind of progress they're making. Tuning in a little bit or singing the whole song out. Then writing activities, yeah, reading, those symbols are obvious. Then solving a puzzle, solving a kind of problem, yeah, making a good decision, something like that. And then video, of course, either watching a video or creating a video for your parents or whatever. And then time, yeah, you can see this timer, and that represents timing different activities. So this box is about competitions. But how can we run competitions with a one-to-one student? Who are they going to compete with? Of course, they can compete with you. They can compete with you again. and yes, exactly, they can compete with themselves. You just need to change the criteria slightly, yeah, or you can time them. So, for example, you give them, I don't know, a matching task, and you time them. And then next time they do a similar matching task, but faster. And you can highlight that as a progress they're making, something like this, yeah. So, yes, there is an element of competition, of course, but you need to play around that idea. Awesome. Okay, another favorite theory of mind actually is growth mindset. Have you heard of this theory? Yes, Oksana, great ideas, of course. Yeah, lots of great activities. Yes, okay, so let me just remind those of you who don't remember much about that. So Carol Dweck developed this theory quite a few years ago, and she's still presenting, and you can find quite a lot of videos on YouTube about on the topic, yeah. So basically what she's saying is that we have two types of mindsets. One is fixed and another one is growth. So if you believe you have a fixed mindset, you know that you have certain talents, inborn abilities, the same about children, right? And you can highlight achievements, you can praise students like, well done, that's been a very good job, things like that. However, if you believe in the growth mindset and you think you've got one or you want to develop that, then you're focusing on progress making, the process of learning, and you are inviting your learners to experiment so that they're not afraid of making mistakes, and they can be creative, they can play with language, yeah, using it naturally like kids, native speakers, kids can do. They will be involved in a variety of communication activities, yeah, with a communicative focus, which means the focus is on meaning. So we don't focus on mistakes that much. Meaning is a lot more important. And that's how they can build confidence and think that they can actually achieve a lot more in the future. And the whole learning journey is enjoyable. It's fun to learn English, and that's what we want to achieve. I really like this theory. It resonates with me, and I believe we can make use of that, of those ideas, if you just find an article by Carol Dweck online. There are quite a few available for free. Have a look, have a read. It's really worth doing. You'll be inspired. Now, for us teachers. We have already talked about many different things we can do, sort of embedded in our lessons, yeah? But we can also set a goal for our students. And obviously for primary school children, we can talk about violin, yeah? Young learner examinations. For primary school children, there have been 3 tests designed. They are starters, movers, and flyers. So if you know a lot of things about these tests, let me know, type in a plus in the chat box. I'll be highlighting some of the benefits of the tests, and obviously we'll have a look at some examples from the tests. Well, first of all, there is a nice way of connecting all skills, yeah, putting them together in one test. So they're sort of integrated to a certain extent. Okay, it's good that we have some people who don't know much about that, because I'll be giving some basic information about the tests. But those of you who are experienced exam helpers, let's say, yeah, you can evaluate activities that I'll be demonstrating, yeah, in a moment. So what I wanted to say, that what is good about that, there is a clear progression from level to level. The tasks are similar from starters to movers, from movers to flyers, and the level of challenge is gradually increasing. And even in key, you can see some similar tasks, similar to flyers and other exams, right? And then there will be a clear progression later on. So, what I like about these tests, they are level appropriate, they're age appropriate, they're useful, they're great activities. So you don't have to change them much if you run a lesson on that. Yeah, you can make use of the visuals, you can use a variety of tips from the resources. And of course, there are many resources available at Cambridge English website. I'm sure Yulia will help me post the link to that website. Anyway, they are fun, they're really enjoyable. Like, for example, don't our kids like coloring or something? Yeah, so there will be a task like this. They can reflect on their experiences, they can choose what they like doing for lessons, and then in a test, they'll be demonstrating something that is familiar for them. Well, the topics are relevant. You've talked about the choice of topics, and obviously here they're well selected. Then there are many different activities, tasks that are really appealing to this age group. And what I like is the focus is often on understanding, on developing skills rather than just accuracy for the sake of not making a mistake. That's a different story here. The content and format of tasks is clear, as I have already mentioned, it's wisely designed, so well-recommended tool for assessing your learners, for identifying their strengths and weaknesses, for helping them develop, yeah, and make progress. Each child will earn a certificate, no matter what their result is like. There is no pass or fail. However, they will receive a certificate which looks attractively, yeah, and their results, their achievements will be highlighted on the front cover. There will be those Cambridge shields highlighted for them in all 3 areas. What is great is that at the back of the certificate, there are certain descriptors. At the back, actually, on the actual certificate, there are can-do statements which will help children, parents, and teachers recognize, yeah, what they're good at and what they can do, yeah, different levels as appropriate, yeah, as necessary. And another thing that they'll be issued is their, what do we call that? Statement of results, yeah, the statement of results with many different tips, yeah. Well, first of all, let me just highlight the tips, yeah. They will see their strengths, what they're good at. Secondly, they can see the areas they need to continue working on. And finally, there are some practical ideas how they can improve in these areas. So it's basically a very nice tool, and then you just make use of that information, yeah, and continue teaching them. Let's focus on the format of the tests. In all 3 levels, starters, movers, and flyers, there are 3 sections. There is listening, then reading and writing paper, and speaking, which can be done separately, but usually it is on the same day. So basically, the length of the test and each section will depend on the age of the candidates and their level. So the younger they are, the lower their level is, the shorter the test is going to be, right? So the listening paper for starters is just about 20 minutes. And the speaking is just from 3 to 5 minutes. And the same is for other tests, as you can see. So it's basically a very clear progression from test to test, from level to level. It's a very nice starting point to take exams and get a very positive experience in exam taking. And in my personal experience, all my learners who started taking exams from these levels, you know, relatively low levels, yeah, they would get it as a habit. And they would continue taking exams, well, at least up to first, yeah, like B2 level, but quite often further. Okay, over to you. What do your students find easy? Have a look. Is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, it's good that many of your students find listening easy. I can see some of you are highlighting reading and writing. That's amazing. And then speaking, that's great. That's great. Okay. I think this age group cope well with listening and speaking quite often. Listening might be scary at certain points. We'll talk about some challenges in a moment. But reading and writing is the most peculiar paper for them because their literacy skills are still developing. We've talked about that, so that's not surprising for me. So let's have a look at, oh, I've forgotten to ask about the difficulties. What do they find difficult? Will it be B? Okay. Okay, some people say speaking. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And well, obviously our learners are different. Yeah. And they have different areas of weaknesses and strengths. And that's amazing. That's why we like working with different learners. Yeah. So that's one of the things they can find difficult. So let's focus on listening, on the listening paper first. And here I'm highlighting the first part of listening, which is basically listen and draw lines. Now, what is good about it? Yeah, the good thing is that in starters, movers, and flyers, listening part 1 looks nearly the same. Yeah. So again, learners will be familiar with this task. They usually like this type of task because it's relatively easy to identify names and people in the picture and then draw lines. However, of course, it can be challenging, and some challenges will be highlighted in a moment. So to give you a hint what it is like, yeah, I've got an extract from the script. So that's what kids will have to do. They will listen to this recording and they will have to identify Pat and that he's holding, I'm sorry, a cat or something. That's interesting. I've confused Pat as a boy, yeah, or a girl, yeah, and this name is tricky because it can be used for both. That's one of the challenges I wanted to talk about. So yeah, that's basically it. So they will continue doing the same thing. It's very good to have an example in front of them. Yes, with an extra name, you don't do anything. So it's just a distractor. Yeah, that's a good question. So to complete the task, they will have to, well, first of all, to look at the picture and get the idea what people are doing. That's kind of they're ready for. Then they need to read the names. Yeah, so if your learners are low levels, you need to help them recognize all names in written form. Then, of course, they will have to understand what the people are talking in the recording and identify people, yeah, and then draw lines. So the progression is like this. And let's have a look at the first thing they may find challenging, names. So here I'm highlighting the most common names used in starters. You can find the full word list on the website, Cambridge English. And there are many other useful things. I'll be highlighting them a bit later. But yeah, if you want to prepare your learners for the test and help them pass the test with flying colors, then probably you need to know which words you need to teach so that they're confident about nearly everything. So have a look at the list. Can you figure out all the names? Okay, good. Okay, it's good that you are good at this level, starters level. Oh, yeah. Oh. You need to practice more with the names. Okay, so I'm going to show you the names, of course, because, yeah, that's not the point of wasting our time here. But what I wanted to do, let's consider what else we can do with names, yeah? Putting letters in order is one of the activities which we frequently use, obviously. What else can we do? Can we categorize names? Yeah, like into boys and girls only, or those that can be used for both girls and boys? Exactly. So which of the names, there aren't many, we can use for both boys and girls? Yes, Pat, Alex, Sam. Yeah, two more. Kim. Yeah. Yeah, perhaps something else. Okay, but yeah, you recognized most of them. Yeah, exactly. So that's something tricky. That's something to teach. That's something to highlight. Yeah, you can label Pat as a Patricia or Patrick in different lessons. And you will see surprised faces. Yeah, but it's good. Well, I'm saying faces, but obviously if it's one-to-one, there will be one face in front of you. But yeah, they might be surprised. That's what I wanted to say. Exactly. So to avoid confusion and to help them prepare for the test, it's good to teach that. That's the first thing. Secondly, we can actually talk about what they stand for, yeah, with higher level students. I mean, a little bit higher than this level. Yeah, you can talk about what Alex stands for, what Pat stands for, and things like that, you know. And you can simplify the task and put it into practice, like on a regular basis as a kind of warm-up activity at the beginning of the lesson. You can give different pictures, topic related. Yeah, for example, today we are talking about food, then you can see food. But if the topic of the lesson is something like animal related, then you can highlight animals. And you can say something like they usually hear at the beginning of the listening part. Here, look at the pictures. Yeah, what do the children like to eat and drink? Listen and look. There is one example. Let's start with Grace. Grace likes to eat some bread for breakfast. Can you see the line? This is an example. Now listen and you draw lines. And then you can actually take turns with your students saying something about one of the people here. Yeah, like Alex enjoys breakfast and Alex likes to eat a banana for breakfast. What about May? and the student can join you and challenge you, you will have to draw a line, yeah? So they can choose actually what they like. But, you know, this kind of turn taking is more entertaining, engaging, and challenging for the student. So that's an idea for this task. So as I have already mentioned, in all tests, starters, movers, and flyers, listening is nearly the same, but the level of challenge is increasing. And in flyers, you will see that there are certain, well, distractors, we can call them, yeah, confusing elements, let's put it this way. So we have a couple of boys who look similar, or they're in the same place or something near one another, yeah, and the descriptions will be very similar, something like that. And it's very important to listen to the end of the test to avoid distractors, to be able to identify the right answer. So that's the challenge of flyers. Okay, so obviously we need to help our learners develop listening skills. So what can be done? Any activities that come to mind? Have you ever used drawing dictations with your students? Okay, hopefully yes. So that's an idea I'm going to talk about. So you can either, very good, yeah. So you can either dictate something, yeah, on your own, which is of course with the focus on listening. So the student will have to follow your instructions, and you can see the example instructions here. Like draw a big house, draw a small tree next to the house, and so on. Of course, you will be taking pauses, letting the child finish that drawing, and so on. But it should be done relatively fast. So it's important to demonstrate the child how to draw things relatively fast. Yeah, like a stick man or something, and then a house can be drawn easily, and so on. And then, of course, you can take turns, and the student will dictate things like that, and you will have to draw. What is important is what you do afterwards. Yeah, you can ask the child to describe the picture, yeah, or you can ask the child to point to certain objects, like we do in speaking part 1, for example. Yeah, where is the sun? Where is the tree? Yeah, what's the boy doing? Things like that. So you can prompt them further. They can also say sentences on their own without any prompts, and they can also write about the picture, which is very helpful for writing preparation. Yeah, so basically those are ideas for different type of dictation activities. Okay, so let's focus on some of the principles of language acquisition and learning. So what we do when we acquire first language, quite often we're exposed to good language use, yeah? We pick up things effortlessly without putting much effort into that, basically. And then at a certain point, we are ready to say something similar what we've heard. So there is this kind of silent period in between when we get information and when we start producing things. So I think it is very important to give this period of silence to our learners as well. At the very beginning, when you work with younger learners, yeah, like 6, 7-year-olds, probably they won't be ready to produce things right away. And that's why we use an element of total physical response, like listen and do type of things, like following instructions. They can do that, they understand things. They can clap their hands if they hear the word that you want them to identify or something like that, but they won't be saying anything. So these principles, listen and respond non-verbally, is very important at the initial stage, and then you continue asking them to join in listen and repeat type of activities. Different types of chants and songs can be used, and then at the end, yeah, at the further stage of development, you can actually expose them to the written form, and they'll hopefully they can focus on spelling and things like that. Anyway, so at the Cambridge, yeah, actually, here is the link at the bottom of the slide. And because you will get the presentation, you can actually follow the link. And you can find a lot more other activities and resources, and this one is just an example, one of the activities for starters. The song is called At the Zoo, and it's a nice activity. Well, first of all, it's just a nice song, and then of course they can just listen to it and enjoy it. And then you can use different flashcards to put them in order, or to pick up a card when they hear or see a particular animal or something of this kind. Yeah. And of course, there is a booklet with different activities on the website. The first activity that they are suggesting using is listening comprehension. That's what we do in real life situations. When we listen to a piece of information, we'll usually respond somehow to this message. Yeah, we need to understand it first. We don't focus on language that is being used. So listening comprehension comes first. So we've got this kind of, a number of statements can be given, or some questions. It doesn't matter really, because in different test parts you can see different types of activities, and your students need to be familiar with every type of task. So the first two is a number of statements, like yes, no type of task. And then there are more specific questions, and hopefully, if you know the song, actually, you can answer the questions and labels the statements with yes, no's, but that's the idea. So to prepare students for this task, perhaps you need to play the song first, without any task. Let's just enjoy the song. Oh, such a great song. Yeah, you can actually use some gestures to entertain them a little bit. And then, yeah, like for example, looking, yeah, or I don't remember actually the song already. I need to refresh my memory first. But yeah, so you can use gestures. Then what comes next? You give them the task with questions or statements, and you explore each of them. And probably you elicit some predictions. And then you play the video and you take a pause, yeah, and let them do the task. And then obviously you can check, you can pause the video at a particular time to elicit the right answer and so on, checking comprehension. What else can be done? I've mentioned flashcard activities that can be used along with a song. Here you can see a worksheet, the same idea, but instead of picking up the flashcard when they hear or see an animal, they'll be ticking the box. Yeah, whatever you feel is more interesting, more appropriate for your child, because some kids are serious and they want to do things like that in a worksheet, and some kids are more active and they need to move a little bit, or maybe it will be two different activities at different lessons because you want to use the song several times. And then there is a grid, which helps them recognize what animals are doing, different action verbs. So quite a good resource. You can also focus on lexis, of course, after checking comprehension. Yeah, you work with lexis a little bit more, focusing on the written form. For example, putting letters in order. Yeah, we do that every now and again. I think those puzzles are really interesting. I don't know, even kids, when they get older, they like different type of crosswords and puzzles like that, word searches. So I use them a lot. Hopefully you find them useful too. So in the song, we have some family members, so we can focus on this lexical set, and also animals, of course. Yeah, so you can ask your kids to find animals in a snake, for example, yeah, or it might be presented in a different way. But the idea is still to focus on spelling. Having found actually all the animals, yeah, after circling them, you can ask them to categorize the animals into I don't know, exotic animals and domestic animals, or those that can live in a zoo or on a farm, things like that. Or you can ask them to put them in the alphabetic order, which is quite a challenging task, but very useful. Okay, another activity from that booklet. You can remind the students what each character produced, what they said. And it can be a nice guessing game. So you can take turns and say something like, here we go. And the child would say, Daddy, or wow, 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 oh, cousins. Yeah, something like this. So different types of games can be introduced at different stages, because you need a stirrer and you need to entertain your kids every now and again. Okay, let's have a look at the final part in the listening section. And again, there is a clear progression and tasks look similar. If you compare starters and flyers, you can see that they're nearly the same. The difference is, of course, again, the level of challenge is increasing. And in starters, they have only to color different objects. And in flyers, they will have to write something. Yeah, they'll be writing a word or something. Again, focus on spelling. They need to recognize letters and so on and so forth. It's very important. And that's why we need to focus on vocabulary in general to help them prepare for different parts and, well, to develop their linguistic skills in general. So different memory tests can be used. Drawing a picture, drawing dictation of some kind, we've talked about that. Coloring activities of different kinds, yeah. Listen and point type of activities is always good, and word search activities. What I suggest using is making use of different pictures you can see. So usually you follow a course book of some kind, so you can still make use of the pictures presented there. So here you can see an extract from kids' books, and we can exploit the picture properly. So by introducing the topic, let's look at the picture. How many things in green color can you see? What else can you see? How many cars? And so on and so forth. So you can either ask the child to point to, for example, a green car, or you can ask them make sentences, or they can just name the objects they can see. So again, at different stages of their development, there can be a variety of tasks suggested. But now I'm going to demonstrate a memory game. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to look at the picture. Try to remember as many things as possible. Okay. So now I'm going to test you. Here you are. So with a child, of course, you can use a dice, yeah, either an online tool, like free online dice is available, or the real one. And actually, if the child has a die, yeah, they can roll it themselves, or you can do it, yeah, or you can take turns if you are at home. So basically the thing is, you roll a die and you choose the question and try to answer the question. So for example, if you see number 4, you can say, where is the boy with the kite? And obviously we don't remember, so we look at the picture again. Yeah, and then we answer. Yeah, he's in between a big tree with a cat and yeah, girls playing, something like that. Yeah, so that's basically it. So you can prompt your child, of course, and before you start playing that memory game, you need to elicit most of the things, otherwise it won't be fair and manageable. Yes, but yeah, that's great. Some of you do remember. So that's a memory game. What else can we do? We can focus on words, yeah? So what do you remember from the picture? Which words appeared there, were illustrated there? So let's focus on letter B. So use the chat box, please. Type in as many B words you could spot on that picture. Bus, absolutely right. What color was the bus? Do you remember? Baby, absolutely. Boy, yes, great. I think there were a couple of bikes as well. Yes, the bus was yellow, absolutely. Blue car, awesome. Yes, okay. So basically, yes, you can brainstorm that and prompt them, yeah, like, and the color, and yeah, and another object, and what could you see behind that? Yeah, something like this. And you can elicit quite a lot of words. So I'm not going to elicit all of them, but that's the idea. The principle behind that is this game, I Spy with My Little Eye. Yeah, and you can play using Realia a lot. Like if you study at the Child's Place, you can look around and play this game at home. Even if the lesson is online, it's still manageable to play that game. And yes, that's what I'm suggesting here. Actually, here on this slide, there is this kind of activity. And I'm using pictures just to illustrate how we can substitute real objects. Yeah. So basically, we don't need a picture in the course book. Quite often, we can use what is around us to play the same type of activity. Another way of playing with flashcards, yeah, or objects they can see around themselves, is to give different instructions. Yeah, so here you can see, like, if there is 1 on the die, they have to write a sentence using the word. If there is like 3, for example, yeah, they need to think of a synonym. Maybe write it, maybe just say it. You can change the instructions. So the more variety, the better. Well, have you ever played this game, Monsters game? That's another way of focusing on spelling. And you can use it, yeah, or Shark game. Yeah, okay, there are many different varieties, basically the same as Hangman. So, for example, they say a letter, and if they guess, you highlight the letter. If they don't guess, you say, "Oh, that's a shame. There is no A in this word. Try again, try better, try harder." Yeah, and they'll be motivated, of course. And you can see the monster is approaching the man. They're going to eat him. So yeah, hopefully the child will be more motivated and then they can guess the word, and that's a kind of achievement, isn't it? Right. Yeah, and different types of word clouds with letters that are jumbled. Yeah, it can be done digitally. Yeah, if you're good at drawing, you just remove, well, you don't have to be really good. Yeah, you just need a monster. And actually, it can be fun to create a monster every now and again, and the child will like it. They will have to draw that monster, first of all. And they can choose if the monster has an angry face or a funny face or a smiling face. It can be a good monster, actually. So it's fun to create monsters, and whatever games you're playing, can be student-generated. But yeah, basically you need a whiteboard tool. Yeah, you can use Mira, you can use Google Jamboards to draw something, and you just project that for them and change the position of the monster when they don't get letters, and you will have to highlight the letters that they have already used. Yeah, so a similar task. Again, this game can be competitive, yeah, if you time students, and then after some time or a couple of lessons, you can play the game again, maybe with different words, and then timing hopefully will be better. And that's how the spelling is assessed in starters and flyers. So in starters, basically, they have to put letters in order, which is a nice activity. Yeah, it's usually fun and manageable. And of course, it's slightly more difficult in flyers. They have to read and understand the definitions and label them. But the same idea, focus on writing. Okay, so I think we are running out of time, but basically that's the guessing game based on flyers labeling definitions activity. You can create it yourself by using a graded dictionary. Yeah, here you can see 5 extracts from Essential British English Dictionary, and you can create a variety of definitions. based on the topic of the lesson, but level appropriate. Yes, word wall as well. Yes, Julia, that's right. There are many tools, yeah. Yeah, and if your kids find it difficult to work with definitions, you can prompt them with pictures, of course, and elicit the target vocabulary. So you can see I'm using the same words for definitions and pictures so that you can use a combination of both. And in the first lesson, perhaps you can use pictures, and then later on, you can focus on reading and help children recognize the same concepts. Okay, so a couple of words about speaking. In speaking sections, there are several tasks. And in starters, for example, the test starts with a greeting. Yeah, we say something like, hello, what's your name? And the first task itself is working with a picture, seeing picture, which is similar to what we did when we talked about that memory game, remember, which comes from the book, the picture which came from the book. So we will ask something like, where is the tree or where is the car? And the child will have to point to them. And those non-verbal responses are very useful because they will help build confidence. And the child will be praised for being able to recognize different objects on the scene picture. And then the object cards can be also used for the second stage, yeah, and the child will have to put them in the right place, like let's put the car next to the bike, something like this, and they will have to recognize, of course, which card to pick up and where to locate it again in front of them. There will be some questions related to the scene card, like talking about the people, like what's the boy doing, for example, and some questions about the object cards. Yeah, what's this? Do you like this? Yeah, and like, for example, what's this? It's a cake. And do you like cake? Cakes. And what do you usually have for breakfast? Something like this. Very simple conversation based on the topic. And some personal questions towards the end of the interview. It will take about 4 minutes, yeah, and the kids gradually build confidence and they can demonstrate the best of their abilities. To develop speaking skills, we can use a variety of activities, and that's the one I usually like recommending, to involve all the variety of senses, feelings, and so on. So you can use different story cards, yeah, picture stories from, for example, movers or flyers. And you can ask kids to identify what they can hear. So, for example, the car can be heard, yeah, or people are talking, so you can hear that. Or you can ask them what they can see there, and obviously they'll be pointing to different objects there, and different feelings can be also described. Yeah, how do you think the people are feeling? So all these symbols represent something, a kind of prompt. It doesn't have to be verbal, but it can be a verbal prompt, of course. But quite often what you do, you just point to the thing. So for example, if you point to the eye, the child will have to name something they can see in one of the pictures. And then, of course, the child will be challenging you by pointing to the heart, for example, and then you describe some feelings, some emotions, like this person looks tired. I think they've traveled a lot and the weather is relatively hot, so they might not be very happy about that, yeah, something like this. So that's a TV activity. There is this kind of element of moving, and kids really like pretending they are turning on the TV and they can play around with it for a while. Okay, another benefit of using YLE materials for your lessons and encouraging your students to take an exam is that, that there is clear component. In part 4, in starters, you have a text about something, and the content is actually semi-factual. It's very good, it's very useful, it prepares them for real-life skills. There are a lot of visuals, of course, to scaffold, to help them understand the whole idea. And of course, you can make use of the visual prompts by creating different types of tasks like matching, writing words, copying words, different types of racing dictations, and so on. And then you can ask, yeah, okay, Xenia, I'll answer your question in a moment. And then you can ask the kids to read the text and choose which picture actually is best for illustrating that. Yes, so the best books for preparing for different exams. Well, yes, I like fun series, Yelena, yes, I agree. There are many others, like kids' books I've showed you an extract from. Also, there is this kind of exam component. Super Minds is a good series of books. And there are many, many others. Just have a look at the label, Cambridge Starters, Cambridge Movers. Yeah, lots of them. And obviously, you can find a variety of free resources online. With an element of CLIL, you can teach basically content area, yeah, some kind of subject. So there is an idea behind that, either teaching biology or geography or history or something like that, cooking, yeah, whatever you want to teach, whatever is interesting for your learners. Maybe they're interested in photography, you can talk about that, but you'll be using English for that. So they're learning both content and language. So there is an element of CLIL, content and language integrated learning. So I like running lessons with that idea in mind. So there used to be a lesson in Super Minds, one of the books, with some cultural components, talking about different countries. And there was a reading lesson, which was quite challenging for my 6-year-olds. So I decided to prepare them for that. And we created a whole quest based on different countries and things associated with different countries. So I created, well, I think the idea was in the workbook, but basically I made use of that code that they suggested using at a certain point. First, they had to recreate the alphabet. You can see some letters are missing, so they had to remember, like A, B, what? C, So that's the first stage. Then they had to recreate some symbols. They were not necessary for the task I designed for them, but later on they could use the symbols to create coded messages themselves. So that's the first stage. And then, of course, you puzzle them with different things related to the topic of the lesson. In this case, countries, and they had to recognize Sydney, for example. And then there was another card with kangaroo on and something else. And then they had to label Australia with things around them. Yeah, what is Australia like? There is Sydney in Australia, kangaroos live in Australia. There was something else highlighted about that country. And that's how we worked with different English-speaking and not English-speaking countries, creating associations, first of all. And then they were better prepared for the text, actually. They had to read and answer certain comprehension questions. So you can actually make use of their course book materials, creating better lessons, more interesting lessons, helping your learners. I have a couple of examples from writing, if you are interested what writing tasks are like in YLE. In movers, I quite like a clear progression of the level of challenge. You can see here, yes, Sydney, exactly. So, yeah, that's another way of, puzzling them, exactly. You can use phonemic scripts. So the first couple of sentences, they just need to complete using 1 or 2 words. The third and the fourth will be answering questions. And of course, they can use short phrases to answer the questions, but it's a little bit more challenging anyway. And then the final 5 and 6 will be their own sentences, an open-ended type of task. So there is a clear progression, and you can see a way of differentiating. Yeah, weaker students will be able to cope with the first couple of tasks, and stronger students will be able to make their own sentences, earning the maximum number of points here. And they can earn quite a few points if their sentences accurately represent the pictures, and if their answers are easy to understand, if they are written accurately. In flyers, they have to write a story. And I like this particular task because, you know, in speaking, they also have to tell stories. So you can use a combination of different picture prompts to help your kids develop speaking skills, and then you can shift towards developing writing skills. So gradually preparing them first to describe each picture, so giving them each picture separately, and then asking them to point to different objects, labeling them maybe, then making sentences, and then when they see all 3 pictures in front of them, they will have to put them in order and recreate the whole story using some linkers to make it cohesive. So quite a nice task. And yeah, their response will be assessed in this way. They will have to put their things in a clear order. The progression should be vivid, and it should be based, of course, on the pictures. And if it is easy to understand, they'll be awarded the maximum number of points. Typical challenges for young learners. Yeah. So first of all, we work on vocabulary a lot because they don't remember many words if they're not recycled. Spelling of the words might be challenging for some learners, and we work on that area. They need to understand certain structures. We haven't talked much about sentence level today. We'll be talking about that later. And reading longer passages as well. Yeah, those challenges are for high-level students. And dealing with words which are unfamiliar, like ignoring them, not being stuck every now and again, and then some distractors. So this is something that can be trained easily. And for that, I have a couple of tips here. If you ask your learners to write words or phrases on a regular basis, yeah, that'll be awesome. You can collaborate with your learners by writing one thing at a time, yeah, if you take turns. And obviously, whatever their preferences are, try to meet them. I don't mean, of course, indulging their every whim, but yeah, it's quite good if you keep in mind what they like doing. And then writing for someone, like, let's create a text message, yeah, let's send it to your mom. Something like this can help. And of course, using a variety of prompts can motivate them. The philosophy that is behind all the activities that I've highlighted for you is good practice in primary teaching. Yeah, so whatever they do, they are making progress. Don't forget to highlight that. So hopefully your lessons are stress-free environment, and you can find some tools, some ways to keep them engaged. And of course, if you entice them to take tests like this, yeah, you will help them learn better and encourage them, I don't know, to start this kind of learning journey with this positive experience. Again, Cambridge English website is full of resources. You can find sample tests, you can find booklets with different activities, word lists, posters, everything that can be downloaded and used in your lessons. You don't have to buy much. There are a lot of games, applications that you can use with your learners for free. And let me just highlight the stages of a lesson that you can rely on. Oops, I'm sorry, there is a problem here. Who can help me? What's the first word here? What do we start a lesson with? We say, hello, how are you, right? And then we can do a little bit of revision, exactly. And then we can focus on new language. Okay, such a recovery. And then a little bit of moving around can be used, yeah. And then you can focus on a serious task, maybe reading or listening or something else, yeah, or maybe studying new grammar, whatever. And stories are great fun. So perhaps you can finish your lesson with a nice story, either a new one or something you've read already and you want to recycle. And then, of course, at the end of the lesson, there might be something, okay, let's choose what you want to do at home. Yeah, and you can give them options. Would you like to read something at home or draw something? Would you like to create a series of instructions for me? Something like that. So by giving them options, you're motivating them too. So that's your teacher's role, actually, to motivate your students to choose a variety of activities, to go at their pace, and their pace might be different and quite surprising, actually. Sometimes they go fast, sometimes they are really slow. And then clear boundaries, rules, expectations, and you can promote learner autonomy by making them better learners. Any questions at this point? I'm about to finish. I'm overrunning, but it's a habit of mine. I'm terribly sorry. Okay, I can't see any questions in the chat box. So hopefully all the ideas that I've highlighted for you were relevant. And if you're working with this age group, thank you very much, Galina. That means a lot. Yeah, thank you. Okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining me today. Thank you for being active, for helping me run this webinar. And I'm inviting you to 2 other webinars. We'll be talking about different age groups, and hopefully I'll be able to share something else that you haven't heard of, or maybe it'll be just